G'day YouTube, welcome back to my channel Bonsai Works. Another Shimpaki juniper here today. However, I want to talk about this tree a bit before I do any work on it. I'll get nice and close, and you can see this wonderful trunk, lots of foliage, nice healthy tree. Now, one thing that is difficult, especially for new people, is trying to see the tree within the tree. That's talked about quite a lot, quite often. It's about finding what's the best tree in this tree. Now, to a lot of people, you look at this tree and goes, wow, perfect, don't want to touch it. Other people see different trees. Other people see less foliage. Other people see more foliage. Other people see more gin, less gin. Everyone has a different opinion and viewpoint about what makes a really good tree in their eye. What about what's aesthetically the best, or what about what can make this tree look old and ancient and really captures the imagination of a really old tree, and how Shimpakus can relate that story of really old trees and telling a really interesting story. Bear that in mind. Now let's talk about this tree. First thing you probably see is beautiful healthy foliage, and then you move in and you see lovely bits of deadwood and gins and white trunks and branches and been ginned and sharied and you name it, right? However, how come, for me, my question is, that's really nice and old, then how come the foliage is so lush and young? Kind of doesn't match. Okay, that's how I think when I look at the tree. And that's where I think about ancient old trees. Do they really have huge amounts of foliage? If you want to, I can spin this tree around this side. You guys see, I'll do a little spin so you can see how much gin there is. It's really quite nice. But look at the foliage. Look how much foliage there is. That's a nice for the back side of the tree. There's really no branches there. You can see nice and clear in there. Lots of gin, right? Keep going around. It's only a small tree. It's probably 20 centimeters tall. Yeah, about 20 centimeters tall. It's not a very big tree. Nice small tree, but how does that capture the imagination of a really old tree? To me, it doesn't. Okay, so that's one of the things. Love the gin. You're going to have this. This is the feature of the tree. This isn't the feature of the tree. This is the best part of the tree. This is foliage that should frame the gins and the shari and the best part of the tree, not overwhelm the whole tree. Okay, so that's how I think about a tree like this, and how do I want to capture the best tree possible, and what are some other good points and bad points about this tree. It's with gin and shari, with gin and old trees, you need to be able to see the live vein when you coming out of the soil and a lot up the trunk. So at least we see part of the live vein, okay? So bear that in mind as well. So at this angle, you can see the live vein. Nice, there's a nice live vein here. Turn it back, turn the other side. You can see the live vein. However, there's a bit of deadwood that goes right across it. So maybe not and plus there's no branches here at the back anyway. So we're gonna go back to this side, but very important to see the live vein, and we can see that. Now, what are some other good features on this tree? This part of the foliage in here has really interesting trunks and bends, and it's shari up the wood. It's got some interesting curves. It's a nice piece of growth. Then there's an apex in here that looks like it's been grown very fast and quickly. You can see if I move it, that's where it is. It's very straight and young. Okay, not the best thing you want to see in this tree. It does have some interesting movement, and I'll zoom in when I can get a chance. I'll bring it this up to show you this end. So you can see this, it's got some nice interesting movement from here, but then it's straight. And there's a straight tree. Okay? Interesting, boring. Okay? We can wire it and push it down and so on into the place. Then there's this side, has a few branches that are very straight and uninteresting. Alright, so not the best bit, really sensational. That's how I see it. Now, I think you know what I'm going to do to it, aren't you? You're probably guessing. I've given you the hints. The best features of the tree is what you want to keep. All right, and then how can you use the negative or the less good features to make a really awesome tree? You know, how can you use them? Can you incorporate them? Can you do something with them? Of course you can, and it should just enhance the tree further. So my thinking, this little guy is probably needs a slight angle change. I'm not worried about angle change at the moment. This is the best feature of the tree, with these old trunks, twisted, nice foliage that you can use something. These are very uninteresting trunks which we can wire and shape. So my dilemma is whether these have really interesting trunks, whether I gin all this and feature those trunks and try and re-establish this tree on this side, or do I really focus on this area with the great trunks and gin and do something with this side? So that's the question I need to really have a look at and investigate. The main reason I'm leaning towards keeping this is all about the trunk and the live vein. The live vein for this trunk here is this beautiful trunk right here that you can see. Hopefully you can see. It's the live vein that runs up and down this tree. For this part, the live vein is this guy at the back. Okay, at the back. So if I gin all this off, all right, I mean, if I keep this, then I'm going to probably have to use this side of the tree, which isn't the best. If I gin this, then I'll be using this side of the tree, which is what I wanted, because of this great trunk and the live vein. So that adds even more weight to my thinking. So that's the plan. I'm going to have a close look at this tree, and we'll be back to look at working on it and how we go about doing the actual work. All right, so one of the considerations I was thinking about is the position of the tree after, if I gin all this and have this, and what are we going to do? So it's really quite tricky. So I was trying to envision what kind of way we're going to bend it, because it's not going to stay like that. I think it's too boring to have a tree just like that, with gin there and the tree there. It doesn't really explain the story. I think if we tilt it, if we're going to have to tilt it a little bit this way, have a nice little kind of round semi-cascade drum pot or small semi-cascade pot. Tree moves in that direction. Really interesting pot to give that contrast. All the dead wood over here, and the just a little bit of the live wood over here, like a little cascading tree, maybe a cascading tree off the cliff, something like that, all damaged over time. That's one way. Or we go the other way, but I can't really explain this story. Why would the tree go that way and then down and have the gins over that side? So I'm not 100% sure which way. I'm more likely to incline it this way, towards this healthy foliage going down the mountain, growing against the damage that happened on this side, and it's going this direction. That's my thinking. So this, I know I spent almost 10 minutes talking about this, but it's really important to understand the thinking behind how you go about designing trees, and how this is how I think about it. I'm sure other people think differently too, but it's very similar. You look for the best features, keep the best features. How do you explain the features? How do you tell the story of the tree? That's how I think of it, and that's what we're going to do. All right, so we're going to get stuck into it. A bit scary for some people, maybe. I'll probably get hate mail and hate comments about chopping all this beautiful foliage off. I'm hoping I don't. I'm hoping to get positive comments about it. But I assure you that I think, for me, in my opinion, this tree is kind of doesn't tell the story as it is. It just doesn't. People might love it, but it doesn't make sense to have beautiful gin and then really healthy foliage. It doesn't tell the story. So I think it should just enhance the tree by having the beautiful foliage here, all the gins over here, the tree moves this way, and the tree's already moving that way. So it's going to be a really nice tree to create, I think. So I think with this tree, because it's going to be quite a bit of work. So the first part of this, I'm going to do two parts. So this first part is all about the design and why, and I'll explain the reasons why we're going to do it. it's important to hear that discussion without skipping forward to the cut, and drop. That's just normal technical skills. But it's the thought process I want everyone to understand. Why finding the best tree within this tree, finding the most oldest tree within this tree. That's how I think of it, and I think a lot of other people think like that. Hopefully, many people think like that. Finding the oldest tree possible, and that's what I'm trying to do here. So, I'm going to do a part 2 of this video to actually do the styling work. So, I'll post them pretty much close together, so you won't have to wait too long. It's important not for you guys to wait too long, so I'll do part 1 and part 2 because it's good to know. All right, thanks for watching, and look forward to part 2.